Name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have a very, very special guest, a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Randy DeOrio. Welcome back to the show.
How are you?
Great to have you back.
I can't believe 2 years is coming on. It's
Well,
2
almost,
years.
almost 2 years. Almost
Next
2
month will be
years.
2. But 2 years since I've met you, and
Yeah.
we met on the set of Scars of a Predator.
Wow, and it's 2 years since we shot
Yeah.
that. You know, I can't even believe that, right? I mean, all those people we
Quite
met.
like that, yeah.
And Cecilia, who was on Scriptless.
Yes.
That with one of the times we shot was
Yeah.
she was on the set that day too. So
Right.
That was 2013.
It was 2013, November 2013 with
Crazy.
Andy Troy, and you did the remarkable courtroom scene.
Yeah. How many times?
A lot, and my sympathy was with you there.
Okay, but you know, I felt that for this show, and I know we have a lot of history with acting together
Sure.
and all this stuff, but I wanted to talk about your other love, writing, and you're the author of 2 novels,
Yes,
right?
yes, Jaded 1, Jaded a True Story.
Is this one Jaded one?
Yeah, that's Jaded a True Story,
Okay,
correct.
Which this right over here? Okay, yeah.
And this one is Jaded 2, A Silent Injustice.
Cool. So before we get into those books,
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, like, when did your interest in writing start?
It happened accidentally.
Really?
My cousin actually wanted to write an autobiography, and she kept talking to me about it, and I kept giving her, some little bit of input, a little bit of my own spin on it.
Right.
And then we both got together and figured out that it would be better if it became, a biographical story. So instead of autobiography. So I started narrating it and getting the story from her, and her poetry is in it, her pictures, and her whole story. So I got the story from her, and I kind of put another spin on it, and then kind of segued into my own stuff and back and forth.
Right.
And it was a very interesting experience, and it's hard work.
So how long did it take to write Jaded 1?
It took about 6 months. 6 months. And Jaded 2 took even longer. Jaded 2 took years because we had to wait for certain things to unfold so that we can write about in the book.
Yeah, the interest, for me at least, let's say with Scriptless the first season, then Scriptless MD the second. Scriptless 1, I just came up, these ideas were just flowing really quickly. Scriptless 2, MD started, it was tough to, it's almost like trying to recreate that thing that happened. And with Jaded, I mean, when you were writing it, how did you, did you know that it was going to be published? I mean,
No. I mean, here I am, Jaded 1,
Yes.
Jaded a True Story came out in January of 11.
Right.
And like just months before that, if you told me to have a book, and now here I am with 2 books, because I never had an ambition to be a writer ever. Right. It all happened accidentally. It was a stroke of luck, and we got it together, and we worked together on it, and I had so many people at Author House help us, and they're 2 incredible books.
So how do you go from, like, people ask me the same thing about, like, Scriptless or whatever, you come with an idea and then you make a television show. How do you come up with the idea of writing, and then all of a sudden you actually get it in print, binded, all this stuff, beautiful cover. So many authors never get that opportunity with their writing.
And that's the thing. I know so many writers, and I know authors, and I've been in their house, and I see manuscripts all over their writings and everything, and they're diehard writers, and they haven't gotten anything published, and now they see me with the 2 books out, and I just met the right people. I was able to present my story, I think, the right way, and when I had the opportunity, one thing about me is, when I see these opportunities, man, I take advantage of every ounce.
And I know one thing. You're a very talented person, and you're an extremely talented actor. But the one thing I do know also is that you know how to promote, and that's an important thing, because there are a lot of talented people out there who just hide in the corners, and they don't put themselves out there.
Well, I think it's because I'm a people person. I love the interaction with people.
Right.
And also, I know it's just not me. Like with the book, there's a book company, Author House, and now Author House has merged with Penguin and Random House. Right. And there's a subject matter, of course, and with the acting, there's the directors, the stars, there's other people. So I feel like I'm part of a team, and I'm not only doing this for myself, I'm promoting other actors that are doing other things, and it's just a great process.
So the question, okay, before we get into the story, who did you work with on these projects?
Well, the subject matter, she really wishes to remain anonymous.
No, but the people who helped you
Oh,
this, I mean, who are the people who
Well,
actually
Author
helped?
House, the executives at Author House.
Right, anybody in that you'd like to thank, out there, or no?
Well, there were so many executives at Author House that we worked with.
Leave one out, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Right.
Well, there was an editor and a top executive there. His name is Buddy. He was really, really helpful. But there were just so many different executives that I worked with, and we had.
And were they all encouraging?
Well, we had a lot of tough times,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and it was a lot of, you got creative people and emotions going back and forth. So it was crazy. And books, when a book company gets a manuscript and gets a story, it has to pass content evaluation.
Oh, God.
And in content evaluation, it's so difficult. The first time was really difficult. The second time, I was a little bit more prepared, and I was a little more respected as an author too. So, but
Do they
yeah.
tear it apart? Or what
yeah,
happens?
it's really, the anticipation of wanting the book to come out, and there's so many letdowns. I mean, book one was scrapped 10 times maybe.
Wow.
Book two, we're not going to do it anymore, and it just got, it was, passing content evaluation and all the red tape. I mean, if you're famous and someone writes a book about you and everybody knows you, it's a lot easier. But when you're not famous and people are putting out money, to
Right.
do
I mean, this
print.
costs a lot of money to do.
Yeah, it cost a lot of money, and again, there was an opportunity, and I said, well, I got to kind of make everybody happy here.
Right.
And
Is this in other media other than print? Can you get that?
yeah. Actually, Jaded 2,
Yes.
A Silent Injustice, when you Google it,
Yeah.
you can get 10 free chapters.
Oh.
Yeah, 10 free chapters.
Yeah, but then it leaves off the good stuff at the end.
No, it gets you involved in the book because there's so many things, and not only am I writing the story about someone,
Right.
I lived half of the story in Jaded 1, and I lived all of Jaded 2. I lived it with her.
Okay, so let's, if we can, not to, I don't want to have any spoilers out there, but if you
Right.
could give a general synopsis of what, what Jaded 1 is, and then where it leaves off and what happens with
to be
Jaded
real
2.
general about it, and I can do it no justice unless I'm really, really giving the details.
Right.
But like they say on television, read the book.
Right.
Read the book.
Right.
But here's a woman who is a very young, beautiful woman who was engaged to a Bon Jovi band member and had a crazy life going to the music awards with them. And she had a child, and something very bad happened to her child, and her relationship with this Bon Jovi band member kind of like didn't work out, and then she had to deal with losing her children, going to prison, getting out of prison, surviving it, and then getting back with her children and vindicating herself. So, which brings you to Jaded 2 now. She has another child, and because of her past, her second child was in jeopardy, and she actually fought the state because she wanted to keep her child off medications. And this is about the pharmaceutical companies that are really quick to give children medications, medicate them, numb them. And she fought. She fought to clear her name, and she fought to keep her child off medications. And guess what? She won. She did win, but it's an interesting story. I'm not even giving it away because it even becomes more interesting than that.
Like one of my jobs that I had like 10 years ago was the director of finance of a camp.
Right.
Okay. And the camp had like nurses and a station and all this. I would say at least 50% of the kids were on some form of medication.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the amount of medication, and it's. I mean, when I was going to camp, if I'd have aspirin, and they'd give me sometimes Coca-Cola syrup because that would be good for your throat. But we're talking serious medications.
Right. Well, here's a very interesting statistic. 75% of the medications that are on the market today were not around 15 years ago. And many doctors are getting their education from pharmaceutical companies that have an agenda.
There's no question. Right.
Not that, and to be fair, many medications are necessary and they save lives, and many doctors are great, but there's that.
I will mention one place I used to work that doesn't exist anymore. Another place where I was the director of finance for a company called Madison Medical. About 2 or 3 times a week, we would have lunches catered in our offices by drug companies, and they would give us tons of drugs that for free,
Right.
to give as samples to our patients, hoping that they would use those drugs. And the amount of, like you know that these drugs aren't there really to cure you.
Yeah.
They're there to manage your symptoms.
Right.
So the symptoms continue.
Right.
You have to keep on buying these drugs.
Right, and then there's the side effects, and then they have more drugs for the side effects.
Right, that's it.
I mean, it's a
And
trillion.
then you get more, and you get more lunches catered.
Yeah.
At
And vacations.
That's what I'm
and
talking about.
Everything,
Right.
and it's like, there's a new medication, and a doctor, oh, this new thing, and you better take anybody.
Right.
Anybody in America can go to a doctor, and they'll be diagnosed with something that requires medication.
Absolutely, it's
And
crazy.
so, but it's with
and
the
a lot of
kids.
things with kids as well.
And with
Oh,
the
you hear
with,
Sunday in the
yeah,
background.
yeah.
Sunday.
I love that little dog when it came. I love dogs, but
Yes.
So this is a woman she's a very interesting woman, and I saw her fight, and the story's just incredible, and it shows that sometimes a little guy can win.
Right.
She fought
And
hard.
how's she doing now?
She's doing great.
Okay.
She's a mom. She's homeschooling her child actually,
Right.
and she's had an incredible life, and I have a lot of respect for her. She's a great mom. She loves her child, and the story is very interesting for most of the people. Like the first one touches on a lot of domestic violence that she had gone through.
This is Jaded.
Jaded 1.
And the full title is a true story by Randy DeOrio. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the first one touches on domestic violence,
Right.
and the second one touches more on the fight to keep our children safe and keep our children kind of like drug free.
So is she? Has she met someone? Or
She meets somebody all the time, but
okay,
that's
a
that's
different.
a roller coaster. That's
the
another show.
That's the next.
Yeah.
That's the next book. Well, will there be another book? You think?
We're talking about Jaded 3. I already have, a kind of like a title for that, but
Right.
I want to kind of like, work on savoring the success and the release of Jaded, Jaded 2.
Right.
And plus I have, with so many films coming up right now.
We'll talk about that in the next episode.
Next
Right.
episode. But so with so many things going on right now, and I know the hard work that it requires.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, for every page, how many pages do you have to really write?
Yeah.
For it
So
to-
many, and I was lucky because subject matter would write a lot of stuff up, because she actually wouldn't sit there and tell me. She would write a lot of stuff up, and I would look at it and just rewrite some stuff, and then, like I said, segue into my own and then do my own writing.
Right.
But so many things changed back and forth from titles to covers of the book to back and forth.
Oh yeah, I wonder how many pictures did you take before you settled? I mean, this is a sexy.
Yeah,
cover.
that one there.
Yeah, let's take a look at this one. Wherever.
Yeah.
This one. I mean, that's a nice.
Dan Tischler is a graphic artist, and he created that.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, it looks, and it's not real. It's not a real person.
No. Dan Tischler created that.
This is so nice.
And
I like
yeah.
it. Beautiful.
So yeah, that's the one that I wanted.
Yes.
And the second cover
Let me see.
was designed by Aletha Perrant. She's opening Pandora's box, wearing Pandora's bracelet.
Right.
And that one there took so many different. It's tedious, and when you're dealing with creative
that her?
people, that's her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice profile.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes. So.
So what does she do?
She's a certified massage therapist, but she's very interesting. She collects precious gems and resells them, and she's an artist, painting tapestries. I got one of her
Tapestries.
paintings.
We'll talk about that
later.
later.
Tapestry. Yeah, and just so many things. She's an artist and she's a creator, and she has to keep creating. She's very
So
interesting.
it runs in the
person.
family. That's,
Yeah.
Wow. So is she a first cousin?
Yes.
Wow. So were you close when you were younger? Or
No.
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 So how did you connect? I mean.
Well, I was separated from my mom when I was 12 years old. My father actually had a hotel in Chicago. The Rat Pack used to stay there. He was a very wealthy man.
Great story.
But yeah, I was a product of an extramarital affair. So while his wife and other children lived in the suburbs in their mansion in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, I was taken back to Patterson with my mom. And then my mom had a very bad alcohol problem. And, I understand now as an adult what adults have to go through. But she tried her best, and I went into different foster homes. Some were good, some were not so good. Yeah. But what always kept me together was, I loved movies, and I'd imitate the actors. I loved boxing and karate.
And you went very far in boxing and karate.
Yeah, I did. I was a world championship sparring partner. and I had 9 pro fights, and I could have gone a lot further, but I got into these crazy relationships, and you need your sleep when you're a fighter, you need your head right.
Yeah.
And
but you're only young once, and
yeah, and it passes you by. And when you're young and strong, and you're in there and you're doing your
but
thing,
also you have your relationships and all the stuff when
yeah,
you're young.
and you have to work.
Yeah.
You're not supported, So until you're like a top level fighter. But I made a lot of money as a sparring partner, and I am an award-winning fighter. I got the New Jersey Diamond Gloves and the Outstanding Boxers Award.
And that's it.
So,
and we'll talk
yeah.
about how that to a certain we'll allude
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it in the next show
Right.
about how that's actually been a benefit to you. But we
Yes.
won't get into details.
Yes,
I promise.
yes.
So I'm excited. I'm excited that you're getting. I mean, in the last 2 years,
Yeah,
you've
look
become
at-
like you've blossomed. It's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, it's like I remember when I first met you, and now it's like the air of this confidence that you're exuding now. It's
Well,
really great.
Well, it's funny.
wonderful.
Early November of 2013.
Right.
I was, going through YouTube, and I came across the show The Way to Go.
Which is crazy.
Right? I came across your show, and you were interviewing my co-stars, Nancy Vasquez and Michelle Francescos,
from
for
The
Right to Live.
Right.
And so I watched the show, and I naturally made comments, and we got to be friends on Facebook.
Right.
And then I finally got to meet you later in November of 2013, and we were on Scars of a Predator, of course, and then we became friends ever since, and done a lot together.
That's
another show.
But to me, it's really interesting
Yeah.
how that progressed too.
Yeah.
Which was so. What other? Yeah, I mean, other than Jaded, do you think you'll ever write about any other stories, or do you think that you're limited? Not limited, but you're going to focus specifically on the continuing story of Jaded.
They're hinting around about a book 3.
Yes.
And I now have the credentials to do that. So.
But would you ever do a different topic? You think, or are you?
Yeah. Well, I learned now to say never.
Right.
Because here I am. I'm sitting here. I'm a published author, and
Right.
because of these books, I'm getting inducted into the Patterson Museum.
Well, see, and that's unbelievable. So
That
tell me
is.
about that.
Well, director Mr. DiStefano, knows me, and I often frequent the museum because I love Lou Costello and the first Black American
because
baseball
of
player,
Patterson, right?
Larry Doby, and John Holland, who invented the submarine, and Samuel Colt invented
And they all
the
came
Colt
from
revolver. Well, they came from Patterson
Or
or were transplanted. Like me, I'm born in Chicago, but I'm transplanted.
Right.
And I just walked the streets and felt these people, felt these legends, and was inspired by them.
Yes.
And now to be inducted with them, it's just so humble. I mean, it's so. I'm so
But
humbled.
I really, it's almost like I could tell good things are going to continue to happen for you, which is really great. And I'm really happy about the other successes that we'll discuss in the other show. I'm really happy about these successes too.
Yeah.
I mean, and also the nice thing about this one is that it has scriptless on the back.
Yes, scriptless on the back, and I managed to get my little doggie on there too. She made her, keep her famous. But yes, scriptless, and you're actually mentioned in acknowledgments.
Which is cool.
Yes.
And I know you recently lost your dog, and I mean that was.
And I want to tell everybody out there, because we all get, I remember with my dog, I loved her more than anything. When I would hear that a dog's passed away, I would naturally think of mine, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to feel, because she was my love. I got her in a couple movies, and I did everything with her, and I loved her so much. And she taught me kind of to be a better person, a caring person. But here's the trick, though. When you love a pet or a person, while they're alive, you give them all the love, and in your heart you gave them all the love.
Right.
And when they go, there's no regrets.
Right.
They will give you peace.
Right.
Because when my dog passed away, it all happened in one day. I had her for over 12 years, healthy. I figured I'd have her another 5-6 years. And then one morning she went into convulsions, and then later on we took her to the doctor. Then later on that day it happened again, and I had to put her down. I held her and I says, "Daddy loves you. Daddy will always love you." And she looked at me and she died. Naturally, I was devastated.
Right.
But that night I looked up at the moon and I says, "Baby, I gave you the best life I could, and I gave you peace in the end. Give Daddy peace." And I had this overwhelming feeling. Now, every time I think of that dog, I laugh, because she gave me the memories.
She was a beautiful dog.
Oh, she was beautiful.
But similar. Like my mom passed away, right? And I'm the one who had to tell my father that she passed away. And I just remember that night where I went up to him, and I was devastated. He was devastated. But on the way to my sister's house, I picked him up. We left. Webb Avenue, where we shot Scriptless.
Right, yeah.
And we're driving up to my sister's place because we didn't want to leave him alone. And they said, when Mom died, everyone died in our family. Our family died. But tomorrow's a new day.
Right.
And he said, you know, and he decided that he wasn't going to follow suit,
Right.
and that he was going to continue to live.
Right, and I talked with him about that too when we were on our shoot,
Right.
and I learned I got this quote from Tony Robbins because I was friends with him for a while and I was at his seminars, but it's, you know, when we're alive we have this relationship with people, your family, friends, our pets, and then naturally either we're going to go or they're going to go,
Right.
and then we have to learn to just go into this more spiritual relationship with them that we can have. And you know, I always say, if a cell phone, you can hold a cell phone and just talk into that little plastic device and talk to somebody across the world.
Yes.
And your voice travels. Well, spirit vibes can travel too.
Right. I mean, it's a tough thing to talk about.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out while I remember to
Okay.
my Aunt Kathy Carter.
Yes.
And she's been so supportive of me, and I love her so much. And my Uncle Vincent Bavaro.
Wow.
And of course, Aletha Perrant.
And who's Aletha?
Oh, she's a very dear friend. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And
it's nice. You have a lot of dear friends, though. I
yes.
know everyone who I know that you know
Right.
really thinks that you're the nicest guy in the world. And
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and everyone on Scriptless loves you. But that's a separate issue. That's another thing to talk about.
Well,
you are. You're a good person.
And I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And it just mirrors because I feel the same way about them, so I mirror it back to them.
Right.
And I've been so fortunate to meet the crew that I've met.
But but the thing is, I think you're like a magnet to. I mean, you bring out the best in people when you're with them, and you're a very positive person. You're like my father in a way.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like, rather than getting negative. I mean, maybe sometimes you're negative about yourself. Sometimes I'm not sure about that, but I think the way you exude to other people.
Right.
I mean, you are always a positive influence. I've never heard you say anything negative.
Right.
And that's it.
And there are sometimes when you have to be a little negative, and that's when I would take the person by themselves and try to do it in a constructive way. Like, listen, it's not because I don't like you.
Right.
This is the way I feel.
Right. And
see, I can never accuse or not. I can always say how I feel.
And you do. The other thing is, you're not a liar. That's the last. You're a very honest person. You're honest with at least from my impression of you. I don't do impressions, but my impression of you is that you're a very good actor, but when you're one-on-one with a person, you're always honest with them.
Yeah, if you know the people that are dishonest or jealous or trying to sabotage a person or talk negative about people, like if I sit here and talk negative about 10 people, you know when I walk away from you, I talk negative about you.
Right.
You know, there are people that I've had to, you know, kind of like you know, stand up to and get in their face.
Well, again, you're also a guy that's you know, you have that.
But
stuff.
I isolated it between us.
Right.
I wouldn't talk to someone else about it, and they kind of respect it, and I wound up being a good friend with them.
Right. You are ultimately like a very good friend for everyone that I know that you're friends with.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to hear that because that's what I want to be.
Right. And I look forward to I really look forward to seeing the next chapters of your life. I mean, it's incredible, and also the things that you talked about you wanting to do are actually coming true.
Yeah.
I mean,
visualize them and
that must be like a Tony Robbins thing too, right?
Yeah, but I just felt that, you know, just sometimes if you kind of be at peace with yourself and you think of these things that you want to do, and if you make it bigger than yourself, you make it bigger than yourself, they come true.
Do you ever get down?
Huh?
Like,
all the time.
On the road to where you are right now, which is really on the edge of like potential really big success.
Right.
Have there been times when you were down?
Of course. I'm down a lot, and I go through this thing in my head, well, this is what I have, and this is what I have to look forward to, and this is the bad thing, but other people go through worse, and things will pass.
But you do that, it seems like you do that probably alone rather than...
Yeah, I do it alone.
You don't drag other people...
Or very close friends.
Right.
You know, like I have a very dear friend, Barbara Barconti, and I love her, and she's always there for me, and
awesome.
I did theater with her years ago, and I have, you know, Tony... Cowboy Abatista, who I brought the show last time, and there are just so many people that have been my friends, and I've listened to them. I've been their shoulder, and I kind of expressed, you know, because we all have it as human beings. There's always we're worried about our friends, we're worried about our family members, and bills, this, that. There's always going to be something, and I know that problems are a sign of life.
Absolutely.
All we can do really is try to get quality problems.
Right.
You know?
And also really having quality friends.
Yes.
But we only have a few minutes left.
Right.
So would you like to say anything more about
Well,
the books?
the books, when you Google my name, Randy DeOrio, DeOrio.
Do you have to put the capital O for the?
No, you really don't. It's
Okay.
just DE, but some people
it's
have put apostrophe.
DEORIO.
Yeah, IO, correct.
Right.
Some people have put DI.
And it's
some
Randy
people-
RANDY.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And you know, basically when you Google me, you'll see Jaded 1, Jaded
Right.
A True Story, and then
Right.
you'll see Jaded 2, A Silent Injustice. You'll see the books
Right.
on my webpage along
Cool.
with my IMDb for acting and everything else.
Right.
And I just found out I have an IMDb quiz game.
Oh yeah,
thing.
that's funny. I think
Amazing.
that happens to I would think everyone who wants about me.
Yeah,
It's
so
weird.
you know, but when you click on, you'll see they can be found on BarnesandNoble.com
That's
and
cool.
Amazon.com and in different bookstores.
That's
but
great.
Jaded 2,
Yeah.
I found out, you know, when you click on it, you
Yeah.
get 10 free chapters.
That's cool.
You know,
I'm-
so and they come in
awesome.
all kinds, ebook, Nook, Kindle.
Right. And I can't wait for Jaded 3. Who knows what you're going to write
Yeah,
about me on it?
and
No,
it,
just
it may
kidding.
not even be Jaded 3.
Right.
It could be, it may, you know,
A different name.
Yeah, it's, you know, now that I know the heart, I respect the work,
Right.
and I have the ability now to do it. I know it.
Right.
So the next one, you never know.
You
There
never know.
a
It could be
next one.
about boxing.
It could be, yeah. I wanted to do my own
That's what I'm
bio,
saying. I'm
but
talking-
but it's hard because you know I had a crazy life, really crazy life, and a lot of people involved, and then
But you could
friends
change names to
Yeah.
protect the innocent, right?
Yeah, that would be a really interesting one because it really gets interesting.
Right.
Mine more interesting than.
Right.
But I'm here. I'm surprised.
At
I'm
some
still
point,
here.
maybe I'll do it also because I could just think about like leaving to go to Hollywood and being out there for
Yeah.
8 years and all.
Look
the
at your story. I mean, you know,
It's a nutty
You were out
story.
there in the real Hollywood, and
In
you
the
did it. You
80s.
had the guts to go out there and do it.
Well, you know, I went on vacation. What I did was I
Yeah.
went on vacation. It's supposed to last for 3 weeks. It lasted for 8 years.
yeah.
So that was basically.
And
it
you worked with the legends. God
Yeah,
bless you.
that's
You know
true.
you did that,
Right.
and you have a beautiful family, and
Yeah.
and you know,
And I'm doing and I have LMC TV, which is
Yeah.
it's such a blessing.
and you get to
have
do
this
so
show.
many things with your dad.
Right. Yeah.
So-
And he does a lot of things on this show. I mean,
I was so happy to get to meet him, and finally I could say I worked with him.
Right.
You know, I worked with Max, and he was great.
and he is the most positive person I've
Yeah,
ever met
he
in my
is.
life.
He's got that just calming way about him, and he sits there and he talks, and he's just so positive.
And
like
he
you
was a
think-
veteran, you know,
Yeah.
and you know now the
and,
veteran.
he, and he's still got this future.
Right,
that
he does.
you
Oh, he's
know.
always looking forward,
Yeah.
and he's always looking to dance with ladies.
Yeah.
and he's always looking.
Oh,
to,
man.
I mean, that was the scene. Well,
Yeah,
we'll
that
talk-
scene. Yeah.
That was a great scene, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah, and I know we were this show is mainly isolated toward the books and things
Right.
like that, but you know, but I get so tempted to talk about what we're doing now.
But do you have any like other parting words you'd like to say about writing? Because
Well-
we have a couple of like
well,
a minute or so.
it's been a labor of love. I was so lucky. This all came about by accident.
Right.
It started with my cousin wanting to you know, tell her story.
Right.
And we did it together, and I lived it, so it's more special to me too because I lived it. I'm not just writing about a stranger. I lived it, and I know, and to see how she triumphed, and it's a very interesting story. So when you read it, you'll you know.
And I
you'll be
encourage
motivated.
everyone to
Yeah.
read it.
Well, thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank you,
because
Alan.
I know how creative you are, and it's wonderful. And creative people have many outlets, you know.
Right,
I mean,
right, yeah.
I mean, I would even think that even boxing.
Yeah,
is
it's all an
creative.
art.
Right.
And you're right, so many different, it's like my cousin with the painting and ceramics and there's so many things that she's doing and myself too, and you.
And the one thing I usually really hate to do, though, there's only one thing. There's always like one thing left to say.
I got a feeling I know what it is.
Okay, that's a wrap. Good night, folks. Great show. Thanks.